Welcome back. Believe it or not, we are halfway through this series that details each step of the home buying process you need to know so you can be more comfortable and better educated when you go to buy a home. Now, just a few short episodes ago, we were dreaming about the kind of home that you'd love to purchase, talking about some of the steps you need to get started, and you were getting out to see your first few properties. But just like that, congratulations, you are now under contract to buy a home. It can happen pretty quick. In this episode, episode 5, we are going to be talking about the one part of the home buying process, once you're under contract, that stops, kills. Yes, this step kills more deals than any other throughout the home buying process. We're talking about the inspection period. So, today we will be going over just the basics that you need to know about the inspection process. The reason for that is, while I was filming, I recognized I probably could have made easily a 45-minute video that would have just been talking about the negotiation period, the psychology around that. But really, the basics of what you need to know, you can learn in 10 to 20 minutes, at least so you can feel comfortable moving forward when that time comes. So for the purposes of giving you a general understanding, we are going to go over a few key points today. And those will be why you do an inspection, what inspections are, the general timeline that you need to be aware of during the inspection contingency period, negotiating, and not losing sight of the bigger picture. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, why do you do inspections? Well, the reason will differ depending on your situation specifically. For many people, they actually choose not to do inspections. I know that there are many investors out there who buy homes as is, sight unseen even, so they won't ever be conducting inspections on the homes they buy. Main reason for that being is they know they're going to be renovating it in some regard, and they're comfortable taking on the projects that will come about that they might not have been able to see on a regular walkthrough, a video walkthrough, but they know they can handle it, or they know they have somebody who can. Additionally, in this market we're in, again, we are July now, July 2020, we're in a heavy seller's market. And that means sometimes to buy the home, you need, or you feel comfortable enough to make your offer more appealing. And for some buyers, they are comfortable enough waiving their right to do inspections in order to get the home. But for the purposes of this video, we'll assume that you feel you need to do inspections in order to feel comfortable in buying the home. And like we talked about a few episodes ago now, believe it or not, a winning offer isn't just one that gets accepted, it's one that you feel comfortable and confident on moving forward. So let's assume that we are planning to do inspections for the home you're buying. So why do we do inspections? Well, first and foremost, doing your inspections as a buyer protects you, in a sense, from any unforeseen or unnoticeable parts of the home or defects in the home that you may not have been able to notice during your first walkthrough. Additionally, electing for the inspection contingency period generally gives you a period of time in which you are able to negotiate with the seller for any repairs, credits that, or even changes in price. Anything is on the table when it comes to negotiations should you elect for this inspection contingency. And lastly, at least in Pennsylvania, as a buyer, as long as you are taking action along your timelines during this inspection contingency period, you are able to terminate the contract, which means getting out of the deal, and receive your earnest deposit money back. This is really important to remember. Many people get afraid that when they're getting ready to buy a home and they get under contract that they are completely stuck with this home now, no matter what comes up. But that's false. The reason we do these inspections are to make sure that you can, number one, buy a home and feel comfortable with it, but two, to protect you in case there are any unforeseen pieces of the home that you couldn't have accounted for when making your offer. So, essentially, as a buyer, if you're able to do inspections, the ball is in your court for the time being. So before we get digging into what inspections are, I want to give a quick note about who should be present during inspections. Ideally, it will be you, the buyer, or buyers if it's more than one person on the contract, and the inspector. Sometimes your real estate agent will be there, either because the listing agent requires them to be present or because you want them there, and that's your choice to ask for it. I know there are some agents who prefer not to be at inspections because they want this to just be one-on-one time between their client and the inspector. And I know some people who prefer to be present so they make sure they can oversee things. Regardless, it should be those three groups that are present during inspections. You may be thinking, well, my mom, my dad, my cousin, my third uncle wanted to be present because they have so much experience. I get that. However, generally what happens during inspections, if you get a whole party going through, is that we wind up in a too many cooks in the kitchen sort of scenario. And there are two main reasons we don't want that to happen. Number one, you want your inspector to be extremely focused on the home they are inspecting throughout the process. You definitely don't want your whoever is there with you to be butting in, asking unnecessary questions, and just overall distracting them from the process that you hired them to do. Additionally, even though these extra parties always mean well, they might plant some seeds in your head that may not even necessarily be true. The main reason we want you to be present with your inspector, ideally the two of you, one-on-one, is so that way, number one, the inspector has less distractions, and two, so you can hear what they're saying, get their feedback, so when you get your inspection report back, you have a clearer understanding of what is in it and why it matters to you. Home inspections are used as a way for you to get a general understanding of the overall health of the property you plan on buying. Inspection fees are typically paid out of pocket by the buyer, and the price can vary depending on the inspections you're getting done, the overall size of the property, if there are multiple units on the home. So say you have a detached garage, a regular home, a shed in the backyard, those may rack up some additional fees. And there are some potential other costs that may be included that vary depending on the inspector you choose to work with. Depending on the inspections you elect to have done, the inspector will be conducting a series of tests, making observations, their licensed opinion, and giving you a tangible report back that gives you that overall health of the home like I was talking about. Typically speaking, in southeastern PA, there are 3 home inspections that are typically done. Number 1 would be the general home inspection. This is where an inspector will be going from A to Z on the property, making visual examinations and testing certain functions of the home, like your HVAC, your toilets, your shower. They'll be seeing if there are leaks on the property, how the roof condition is, giving you, again, that overall health diagnosis on the different features that make up the home. Additionally, radon is seen in higher levels throughout our area, and so for that reason, you typically want to get a radon test done. And lastly, you will want to get a wood-destroying insect report back. There would be nothing worse than buying a home and figuring out that termites have pretty much made it a hollow vessel. So get your wood-destroying insect report done. Other inspections that you may see include septic system inspections, well water inspections, sewer lateral inspections. The list goes on. But count on at least the first 3 in most cases. Typically, within about 24 hours of your inspections being completed, your inspector will send you back a written report that details their findings. Typically, inside of this report, you will find the inspector going over many different aspects of the home, and they will be giving the different pieces they've noted a ranking system, whether it is in good condition, bad condition, poor condition, etc. And they will most likely, if they identify a flaw or a fault in the home, be giving that a ranking ranging from urgent priority to not a priority. And the reason that they rank things like this is to give you an overall idea of the different items that you might want to focus on when going to either move forward with the property, negotiate on it, or potentially, if you found something that was an absolute deal breaker, terminate the contract and back out. Now, when you receive the inspection report back, I can guarantee you will be hit by a flood of emotions ranging from really excited to, oh my God, what is happening? And don't worry, that is absolutely common. What I've found with my clients most of the time is that they feel extremely nervous by all of these written down items that are, saying that the property needs this fixed and that fixed, and have a contractor come out to evaluate. Oh my God, it can seem really overwhelming. But now that you've watched this video, you'll know that in all reality, most of these issues you'll find are not deal breakers. And in fact, many of the times, inside of these inspection reports, you will ignore 3/4 of what is mentioned. So I say that to tell you to remain calm. Seriously, when you go and get your inspection report back, I want you to take a breath. We're going to do that because if you don't, you'll stop breathing and you'll become hysterical and nervous, and that is not where you want to make a decision from. But Noah, how can you tell me to take a breath when I'm so nervous and the home wasn't what I thought it was, and now I feel like it's overpriced, and I also want everything to get fixed? I mean, what can I do? Whew. Again, let's take a breath. Got that out of your system? Good. The reason you get all this information to you ahead of time before you buy the property is so you can make an informed decision. So again, let's take a breath and get ready to move forward, because now we get on to the fun part of the inspection contingency period, and that is negotiating. Depending on the accepted offer you have in place, you will have a set amount of days in which you can get your inspections done, get reports back to you, and have any licensed contractors come out to the property in order to give you a bid on any work that you might either be negotiating on or having repaired. Typically, this time period is between 7 to 10 days, but it all depends on the offer, the accepted offer you have in place. So why would you be bringing a contractor out to the property during the inspection period? Well, the reasoning is twofold. Number one, you most likely, if you're buying a home and plan on doing any repairs to the property, will want to know ahead of time how much those repairs might cost. Additionally, by bringing a licensed contractor to give you an official bid on any work that is relevant to the inspections that you had done, you now have a piece of documentation written up by a professional that you can use to negotiate with the sellers on any repairs that you might want done, or to give you an idea of what sort of seller assists that you will be asking for. By the end of that initial 7 to 10 day period, you will have one of 3 choices to make. You can choose to either move forward with the property and accept it as is. You can potentially terminate the contract, back out and receive your deposit money back. Or, and this is what happens in most cases, you will submit what is called a reply to inspection report to the sellers. Inside of this, you'll be detailing any changes you want done to the offer or the property. And this would be in the form of repairs done to the home, any seller assists that you're asking for. And again, seller assist is a credit given to you at closing that reduces your overall closing costs needed the day of settlement. Or things like reducing purchase price. You can ask for an extension of settlement or a reduction in days before settlement. Anything is negotiable, essentially, but typically what we find is you'll either be asking for repairs to be done, a change in purchase price, or most commonly, a seller assist to be given to the buyer for anything found in the inspection report. Following the end of that initial period, Once you have submitted a reply to inspection report to the seller, there will be a time period, typically in our market in southeastern PA, that's around 5 days, with which you'll be able to negotiate with the seller to come to a mutual conclusion, an accepted agreement detailing any repairs done, seller assist given, any changes to the current contract you have in place. After that 5-day period, if nothing has been decided upon yet, in most cases you as a buyer will have an additional 2 days to make a decision. Inside of that time, we go back to the 3 choices. You can either accept the property as is or move forward. You can terminate the contract and receive your deposit money back. And in some cases, you'll still be able to salvage a deal and come up with a mutually agreeable conclusion where you will have terms in place to move forward past the inspection period. This is again where I will ask you to take a deep breath and try to come at things from an objective point of view. During this negotiation period, it's extremely common for people to get wrapped up in emotion and feel like they are being wronged by the people on the other side of the table. Chances are this is entirely inaccurate. We're all just people living our day-to-day lives. And of course, there can be some malice in some people, but in most cases, it's just people getting wrapped up in emotion. So by being able to approach things objectively, taking a deep breath, and looking at things with a clear head, you give yourself the best chance to get through this inspection contingency period, come out with a mutually agreeable conclusion, and move forward with buying the home that you love. What I really try to urge my clients to do in most cases is to focus on the critical things that have come up during the inspection period. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't ask for little things to be fixed or credits to be given regarding the little fixes that you would otherwise have done. It just simply means that to let a deal die because of minor things like a few $100, some cases even a few $1,000, depending on the purchase price of the property, and or little repairs that aren't being done, there's no reason to let a deal die for that. Recognize that you want to make sure you can take care of the critical things that are either missing from the property, damaged, or need repair, and move on. I mean, if you plan on owning this home for years, things are going to change. And chances are you might have to, I don't know, repair a sink. You might have to repaint the walls or maybe even redo the flooring. Oh my God. Seriously. Let's try to focus on the main things here. Maybe all you find in your inspection report is that you have to do rugs, paint, and a leaky sink. That is great. It's not the time to ask for everything. Let's focus on the main pieces here that are most critical to move forward and work from there. A very important thing to remember here is that the inspection period is not a time that you as a buyer will use to shake down the seller. This is not The Sopranos and you are not coming to collect. This is a negotiation, which means that you may have to sacrifice some things in order to get what you really want. It's extremely important to have your expectations in line with the reality of the situation. And that means that if you are buying a used home, there might be some issues with it. If you're buying new construction, then chances are you can feel pretty sure that the home is going to be brand spanking new. And with that, you'll have, hopefully, minimal problems. Some of my realtor friends here will say definitely not. New construction has a lot of downsides. Maybe that's a topic for another video. But for now, a good thing to think about is to use an analogy like going to buy a used car. If you buy a used car, you know that someone has previously used it, right? You know that with that, there are some inherent possibilities of having something wrong or deficient with the car. Now, most times, you don't get the luxury of inspecting the car, thoroughly getting a licensed inspector to come by and say, this is wrong and that is wrong and this is wrong. But during a home purchase, you do. And the fact of the matter is, you are in the used home market when you are buying a home that someone previously has lived in. So set your expectations right. Understand that there might be some issues with the home, and don't run for the hills at the slightest inconvenience. And oh, got tripped up with my words there. Whew, take a deep breath like I told you guys to. And don't come at the negotiation like a mob boss. Chances are you're not, and well, if you are, then, be nice for once. But seriously, recognize that things will not be perfect. There will most likely be some unforeseen issues. So be willing and open to finding a solution that lets you move forward in buying this home that just a few days ago you were so excited to have finally gotten under contract for. By approaching the inspection contingency period this way, you will more than likely be able to look back at this part of the home buying process with some form of positivity instead of utter dread. The goal with the inspection process overall is for you to be able to do due diligence on the property you plan on purchasing. During your inspection period, you may find really little with the home and feel comfortable moving forward with the purchase as is. You may request certain repairs to be done or credits to be given to you as the buyer from the seller based off what you found in your inspection report. And in some cases, you may find something that is an absolute deal breaker that cannot be negotiated on, and that really leads you to backing out of the deal. The important thing to remember is that as the buyer, if you've elected for your inspection contingency period, then in most cases, you are protected. This process is done for you. In most cases, the inspection period is where deals fall apart. Either reports reveal a major issue that cannot be resolved, or buyers and sellers are not able to come to some sort of mutual agreement. By getting through the inspection period, you as a buyer have gone over one of the biggest hurdles that you will encounter during your purchase. Congratulations. But we're not quite done yet. In the next video, we'll be talking about appraisals and what they mean for you as a buyer. As always, if there is anything I didn't quite clear up for you, or if you have questions about what I've been talking about, the home buying process, selling, anything real estate related, please feel free to reach out. It is extremely important for me to be able to, communicate with you guys back and forth, and I don't want this to just be a one-sided conversation. So if you ever have questions, please reach out to me. Additionally, if you found any of this information to be helpful for you, someone you know, or if you just like the content, like it, comment, share it, so I can help make real estate easier for everyone. This is Noah Scott, Realtor at Vanguard Realty Alliance. Thanks so much.